This is CBC Here and Now.
I'm disappointed, to say the least.
They've had all summer. What's holding this up?
What will classes look like this fall? The back-to-school plan is delayed. The board says it's been given new guidance from health officials.
Well, the Corner Brook Rapid swim team are back in the pool in Corner Brook, finally, after a long break because of COVID.
It's like I lost a family member. I really miss the pool.
Just felt like home. I'll tell you how their competition training has changed.
Heat warnings are going to be replaced by some cooler temperatures, but the weekend's looking great.
Welcome to Here and Now. I'm Peter Cowan. We start tonight in central Newfoundland. Police have arrested one person in connection with an incident that shut down parts of Appleton today. The RCMP remains on the scene but say there's no risk to the public's safety. Here Now's Garrett Berry was there.
What we know is that residents are now allowed once again to move freely in this neighborhood, but what we don't know is what exactly happened here this morning. Police shut down this area at around 8 a.m., the intersection of Roland Road and River Road, a main street in Appleton. Mounties told people to avoid the area and stay inside their homes. Witnesses say police arrived holding rifles and were focused on one home at the end of Roland Road. Around 11:30 in the morning, the police presence started to diminish. That's when the RCMP announced it had taken one person into custody. The force said that there were no injuries as a result of the incident and there's no immediate threat to public safety. We asked the RCMP for an interview and for more information about this incident. A spokesperson told us that their investigation is still ongoing, so they can't talk yet. Garrett Berry, CBC News, Appleton.
A 26-year-old man from Shehajit is dead after being struck by a car outside Happy Valley Goose Bay early this morning. Police are investigating what happened. It happened on a stretch of the Northwest River Road around 3:10 this morning. They found a man lying on the road. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Investigators are looking to speak with anyone who may have witnessed the incident or have any information on what happened. While an independent investigation has found that RNC officers did nothing wrong in the way they handled a fatal car crash in May. 2 people were killed when a car crashed into several vehicles on Topsail Road in St. John's. Leading up to the crash, RNC officers had tried to pull over an SUV, but the driver, Johnny Roberts, failed to stop for police. Officers gave chase for a few kilometers before ending their pursuit. For safety reasons, Roberts crashed into a motorcycle and several other cars a short time later. He and the motorcyclist, Chad Pitcher, were killed. The province's serious incident response team was called in following the collision and tasked the RCMP with leading the investigation. Today, CERT and L announced there was no criminal conduct linked to any of the RNC officers involved. The Newfoundland and Labrador English School District is backing up on its back-to-school plan. Parents, teachers, and students will have to wait a little bit longer in order to find out what will happen in September. Here Now's Meg Roberts has that story.
I would just like answers.
As we inch closer to the start of the school year, parents want to know what the plan is. Last night, the English School District sent a memo to principals stating it's pushing the release of its reopening plan to early next week. It said the provincial government advised us today that there is further important updated medical health advice that potentially will have implications for our plan. It is unclear as to what that medical health advice is.
I'm disappointed, to say the least. In saying that, though, I'm very anxious to know and curious to know what the new medical advice is that was given by the government. It must be pretty important that it might alter the school board's plan.
The delay is also causing concern for PC leader Ches Crosby.
They've had all summer. They've had, in fact, since before the summer, well before the summer. Lots of schools around the world have opened even many months ago. So we have a chance to learn from their mistakes and also from their successes what the best practice is. So we've had lots of time for all that.
Crosby says he believes the transition between premiers is what is holding up the plan. For most students in the public school system, the classes are scheduled to start September 9th, and teachers have been ordered back in less than 3 weeks. The Newfoundland and Labrador Teachers Association says the plan has glaring inconsistencies that need answers.
I'm hopeful that the reason for this delay is that advice, those extra parameters, will find its way into making for a more robust, a more rigorous plan to ensure safety for our students.
The Teachers Association says it's possible to return to school on time provided they get a plan soon as the clock is ticking. Meg Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
So how are other areas preparing? A First Nation in Saskatchewan thinks it's ready for fall. It's taking COVID-19 precautions to a whole new level, starting with school. They say it's not just for student safety, it's for the rest of the community. The CBC's Bonnie Allen traveled to Pasqua First Nation for a closer look at their classrooms.
Only authorized visitors are allowed into Pasqua First Nation these days.
Hi, good morning.
Hi there, how are you? The tight-knit community of 800 people hasn't had a single case of COVID-19. Still, at the local school, Chief Matthew Pegan says 200 students will face strict measures from day one.
I don't want to do steps. If there's a case, this is what we'll do. If there's 2 cases, this is what we'll do. Well, why can't we prevent that right away in the immediate and go to the extreme?
The class sizes will be cut in half, with 15 students at most in a room. They will alternate days learning virtually from home every other day, and each desk has a plexiglass barrier.
So these are the sugar cubes. We've been playing around with what we'll name them so that the students will like to sit at them. We're not going to call them your cage.
Pasqua First Nation owns a manufacturing company that's been able to build the plexiglass barriers and other equipment.
They're telling us what they need to go back to school. We're rapidly prototyping it here at our facility at ProMetal.
It's made portable hand washing stations and touchless sanitation stands for each classroom.
And then you'll wipe your hands.
Students will wear disposable masks on the bus, but the moment they enter the school, they will be given a clean cloth mask that will be color-coded by grade to help the teachers keep the groups separate.
I'm excited for sure, but of course still a little nervous.
Principal Christina Johns knows they can't control everything.
Especially the little ones, kindergarten, grade 1, where they still love to hug their teacher. How do you get away from that, and still make them feel loved and safe?
The Director of Education says an elder taught her an important lesson that she's applying here.
We're not to fear COVID-19. We are to respect it.
And that's what they will teach the children. Bonnie Allen, CBC News, Pasqua First Nation.
There's some new research out about the Atlantic bubble. A new poll by Narrative Research shows that the vast majority of Atlantic Canadians are staying close to home this summer. The 4 Atlantic provinces opened to each other on July 3rd, allowing travel between the provinces without the need for self-isolation. But even with this option for travel, most people in this province have kept close to home. The poll by Narrative Research found 79% of Atlantic Canadians have not traveled outside of their home province. For this province, just 7% of people left to travel within the Atlantic bubble. For comparison, more people in the Maritimes took advantage of it. 20% of people in Nova Scotia, 28% of people in New Brunswick traveled, and for PEI, 38% of people left the province there. As for a Canada bubble, 77% of Atlantic Canadians say they oppose opening the Atlantic bubble to the rest of the country. Narrative Research spoke to more than 3,300 Atlantic Canadians between August 5th and 9th. The margin of error is plus or minus 2 percentage points, 19 times out of 20. For those of you planning your staycations here at home, we'll talk about some of the places that you might want to put on your list. That's coming up a little later on Here and Now. Well, most provincial libraries are going to open after Labor Day with some limited capacity. Some libraries will stay closed, but it's not clear yet just how many. Staff at circulation desks will be behind plexiglass, and people entering the library will be screened. And because of social distancing, not all the computers can be used, and you might have to wait a little bit longer to get your popular books. That's because materials that are returned to the library will be quarantined for 3 days. The library has taken a hit during the pandemic. The executive director says they lost $20,000 between April and June by waiving fines. Its circulation is down 56%. However, digital services have seen a jump, up by 65%, with kids' books seeing the biggest jump. Provincially operated pools are finally open this week after COVID-19 restrictions shut them down back in March. The Brook Rapids Swim Club could not wait to get back in the water. Here Now's Colleen Connors stopped by their first practice.
Stephen Milley was so excited to get back in the water, he forgot his goggles. The pool closed 5 months ago because of COVID.
Pretty terrible. It's like, I don't know, it's like I lost a family member. I really miss the pool, so I even bought like a wetsuit to go swimming in open water, but I'm very happy the pool's open again to train.
He's been dryland training over Zoom with his coaches and swimming in open water, but it's just not the same.
It's a lot scarier for me because I don't like open water as much, but there's no flip turns, and it's definitely not as good because you don't know how fast you're going, like no practice and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely like swimming in the pool a lot more than open water.
Provincially run pools like this one and the one in Gander did not open June 24th when the province entered Alert Level 2. But municipally run pools like the one in Deer Lake did open. So the club rented some practice time, 50 kilometers away.
Like after quarantine, we jumped into Deer Lake Pool, and I remembered why I loved it so much. It just felt like home. Like, I don't know, I can't explain it, but it just felt so good.
Parsons is passionate about swimming.
I really enjoy the competition part. I think it's so fun. You get to spend the weekend with your teammates and just have fun. You compete, but sometimes you're not racing for a time, but sometimes you are. I really enjoy it.
Club President Andrew Brook pushed government to reopen their pools in June. Government said it needed COVID protective gear for pool staff, and the pool didn't open to the public until Monday, months later than expected.
For them to be in the water, that's where they need to be.
Brook says his club is not at a disadvantage for competition season, but they have some catching up to do. The plan for now is to practice as much as they can before school starts. There's going to be swimmers in this pool almost every weekday leading up to September. But the plan for competitions this fall, well, that's still a big question mark because of COVID. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Brook.
And staying on the West Coast, an update now on some serious West Coast walkers. Earlier in the week, we introduced you to Kevin Garnier and Dave Shepard. The pair were walking more than 50 kilometers in a heat wave, all to raise money for more comfortable palliative care. Well, they did it. Here they are crossing the finish line after 14 grueling hours. The two have raised an incredible $20,000, which will be put towards a cuddle bed. That bed lets family members comfortably lay down with their loved ones. Well, not a bad way to cool off after 50K, dipping your feet into a kiddie pool and having a sit down. I'd say they deserve it. Congratulations. There they are. I'm betting they have a few blisters.
The Canadian Mental Health Association and the East Coast Trails Association are teaming up for a new COVID challenge. Get the details coming up on Here and Now.
Some severe thunderstorm watches in place for parts of the island tonight. Things stay a little bit unsettled as we head through the day tomorrow, but a big ridge of high pressure is going to set up. I'll tell you what that means coming up.
This weather update is brought to you by Newfoundland and Labrador Tourism. This year, it's Stay Home Year, the year to rediscover home.
Ashley, the heat just keeps on coming. How unusual is it for us to have a stretch of hot weather like this in St. John's?
Yeah, so obviously lots of people have been complaining about the heat. So I had Rodney Barney look into some of the numbers for me today. Let's take a look at what we came up with. So August 3rd, or August rather, we've hit 3 days so far of temperatures over 27 degrees. And the last time that happened was in 2013. And note that that was in July. This is actually the only other time in August that we've seen a stretch of 3 days of these temperatures since 1944. So certainly is warm if most of you were thinking that it has been. In Gander, 4 days last time that happened was earlier this month, so nothing out of, or earlier this year rather, nothing out of the ordinary. And then same for Deer Lake, 5 day stretch so far, and 6 day stretch just last year. So definitely not anything out of the ordinary. Made that a 6 day stretch, which means it tied for you in Deer Lake. Otherwise, those temperatures have been warm yet again. 24 degrees in St. John, so not reaching that 27 degree mark quite yet this afternoon, and likely not going to. But look at those temperatures up through Labrador. Much cooler today as we see that cold front move through. Temperatures right now in the 20s, 21 in St. John's, and then we've got temperatures in the single digits along the coast. So very much a different story. However, it is very humid today. It feels more like 29 in St. John's, and into the mid-30s again as you head towards the west coast. So that heat warning still very much in place, anticipating that this will end as we head into tomorrow, just as that cold front moves through. But out ahead of that cold front, we are seeing some severe thunderstorms, and severe thunderstorm watches have been issued all the way now towards the Avalon. And we did see some pretty heavy rain earlier this afternoon, and you can see that lightning with the thunderstorms moving through towards Gander. Another area, we did see a little bit of lightning on the northern portion of the Avalon, northwest Avalon, but another area of clouds is developing in thunderstorms down for Placentia Bay, and that's expected to extend further northeast across the Avalon as we head over the next couple of hours. So we'll likely see another round of heavy rain, so definitely don't put your guard down as far as rain goes. There's that cold front sweeping through, or at least the head of the cold front sweeping through. That's what's going to bring that risk of thunderstorms tonight. And then up through the northern peninsula as well, you'll probably hear a few rumbles of thunder. And then a ridge of high pressure dominates. So that is going to clear things out, but those temperatures are also going to drop. So much more comfortable temperatures up through Labrador, and that will continue to creep across the island as well as we head through the overnight. But the good news is that those winds will ease, but it is going to be unsettled tomorrow. As that cold front pushes through, we'll see the chance of some showers, but then as that ridge of high pressure starts to dominate, things will clear out, which it's actually shaping up to be a fairly beautiful, beautiful weekend. Here's your temperatures, much more comfortable tomorrow, but again, unsettled, so good time to open up those windows. Northerly winds, that's why we're seeing these cooler temperatures, 19 degrees in St. John's. Not ruling out the chance that we'll see a few peaks of sun through the day though. And then as we head up through Labrador, there's that sunshine and temperatures much more comfortable into the high teens and low 20s through the day. Not a whole lot to talk about through the weekend. Look at that, nothing but sunshine it looks like at this point as that ridge of high pressure dominates. We're looking at temperatures a lot more comfortable. To me, this is perfect summer weather, 19 to 23 degrees, but that heat is building up through Labrador. Happy Valley Goose Bay, 27 degrees by Saturday, and then into Sunday, 30 degrees with temperatures climbing into the mid to high 20s for the island. And then into Tuesday, it's looking like it should stay sunny with temperatures back into the teens overnight. Same thing for central and western Newfoundland. I'd say that's a pretty good forecast. And then up through eastern and western Labrador, things start to get a little bit more unsettled as we head into Tuesday. Wanted to share this lovely shot. Look at that sky, Greens Pond. Bill Sparks sent us this lovely shot. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. If you have any weather photos to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Red sky at night, sailor's delight. Thanks, Ashley.
You're welcome.
Well, if you've been taking advantage of this nice summer weather to get out and do a bit of hiking, this fundraiser might be for you. The Canadian Mental Health Association and the East Coast Trail Association are teaming up for the first time. They're challenging people to walk the length of the East Coast Trail by the end of October. That's 336 kilometers in the next 2.5 months. There's no point A to B. The walk doesn't even have to be on the trail. Organizers just want people to get out, stay active, and raise some money for trail maintenance and mental health services. Here now's Katie Breen has more.
This year with the COVID-19 pandemic, we thought it was a great time to kind of fuse the physical and mental health. And as most people know, when you're physically active, it certainly helps with your mental health. Also too, this year we found the isolation piece. So a lot of people are working from home, social distance, so they don't have the same connection in the office or with friends and family. So again, this was a great way to get people out involved.
So what kind of an impact is COVID-19 having on people here and their mental health?
We're seeing a huge impact related to COVID-19 pandemic. We're starting to get some research back now where this has been ongoing for several months. But what we're seeing is a big spike or uptake in people's mental health, especially with regards to depression, anxiety, and stress. So again, when people's routines are kind of turned upside down, that can create some new mental health issues, and maybe even to introduce people to a mental illness.
With the mental health piece, what kind of uptick are you seeing out on the trails?
There was a long piece where there wasn't a lot that we could do, and getting outside and hitting the trails with your small bubble was really all we could do. So during that time, we saw a huge uptake in people using the trails, and it seems to just be really discovered by locals these last few months. So we've had a ton of people on the trails buying maps and supporting us that way, which has been really encouraging to see, and it's a nice outcome from the situation for us.
And what kind of a beating are these trails taking now with all these extra people coming out to try and stay active?
Yeah, our maintenance season was cut a little bit short. We had to start a little bit later this year, and we're cut off in the winter when the snow comes. So it's a lot of maintenance, especially from the winter that we had, a lot more people on the trails. So our goal for this event is to fundraise $100,000. That's not our full maintenance budget, but that'll help us for sure to keep the trails in the pristine state that they are and make the upgrades to make it even better for years to come.
As with other community agencies, we're seeing a big decline obviously in our fundraisers this year due to COVID-19, which is to be expected. So the funds from this event will be shared 50-50 between the two organizations, and it'll go towards our education and training throughout the province. So it'll help our facilitators get out to areas outside of St. John's, Grand Falls and Stephenville where we have offices. So it'll be go a long way to do the mental health training that is much needed, especially now with, like I said, the uptake in mental health issues that we're seeing in the province. Throughout the 3 months, we're going to be doing eight workshops, basically for free training for people through virtual training, with up to 300 participants per session. So I just want to let people know that that'll be available on CMHA NL's website as well.
How do people and organizations get involved?
Yeah, so you can go to cmhanl.info/ECTA to register. There's all the information there about joining the event, the physical and fundraising journey. So we're challenging everyone to fundraise individually $250, and then collectively that'll help us reach our goal of $100,000. For organizations who are interested, maybe you want to get a wellness initiative on the go for your staff, or you want to sponsor the event in some way, that information is also at that website I mentioned.
It's staycation season. If you're looking for some ideas, stay tuned. Jane 80 is host of the broadcast and an avid traveler. She's got some suggestions for places you should go coming up. Welcome back to Here and Now. Summer vacations look a little bit different this year. People are staying closer to home, and there's still a couple weeks left of summer for your staycation. So where should you go? Well, Jane Adey is host of the broadcast. She's also an avid traveler, and she's been out and about across this province this summer. Jane, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so what sort of vacations have you had this summer?
Well, I actually haven't had a lot of time off, to be honest. But one of the great things, as you know, about the job that we do is that we get to go out and explore communities, because we're often doing stories in nooks and crannies that lots of other people don't get to go to regularly. So I'm going to break it down into three staycation recommendations, because I don't know, maybe like me, you like to go sometimes on a staycation that might involve a bit of exercise and hiking. Sometimes you might want to just relax and flake out on a beach, and other times you want to do something a bit more cultural and
learn a little bit about the province.
Learn a bit about the history of a place. So I'm going to make three of those recommendations.
Okay, so I'm a hiker myself. I've been out on the East Coast Trail, especially on days like this.
Yeah.
Give me an idea, where is another spot that I should put on my list?
Okay, so one of the places that I went to this summer that I hadn't spent a lot of time in before is the Green Bay area. So I'm talking about Springdale, Kings Point, and a community called Rattling Brook. I don't know if you've ever been there. Gorgeous little community, Rattling Brook. Beautiful trail there called the Caribou Trail. Takes you right along the ocean. Gorgeous scenery, also takes you way up high. Beautiful waterfalls in that community as well.
Wow, okay. Yeah, those are always a star attraction.
Yeah. Now, Kings Point has a spectacular trail. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Alexander Murray Trail there.
Yes.
Again, takes you way up high, gorgeous scenery, beautiful waterfalls on that trail. Now, it's a little bit tough in terms of terrain. 2,200 man-made steps, I think. So a lot of up, a little bit of down to go see the waterfalls, but it's spectacular. I highly recommend the Alexander Murray Trail. And in Springdale, a flatter walk, maybe to do on an evening, the Indian River Walk is beautiful. You can learn all about the estuary there, beautiful scenery.
And that's a salmon river as well, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and really nice accommodations out that way. They've done a lot to attract tourists in that area.
Okay, on a day like today, you probably want to take it a little bit easier than a big hike. What are some of the more relaxing options?
I'm a beach girl. I love sandy beaches. I love rocky beaches. Any kind of beach will do. But I think that Newfoundlanders and Labradorians aren't aware of how many spectacular sandy beaches we have in this province, particularly in the area of the Kittiwake Coast. I'm talking about Musgrave Harbour, Lumsden, Cape Friels. Musgrave Harbour has 7 kilometers of sandy beach. You can't beat it. It's gorgeous.
Lumsden is well known. That's probably the best known sand beach in the province.
Very wide beach. You know, it's got the real beach grass there. You know, a lot of quads. It's a busy beach. So if you're looking for a quieter getaway, I would recommend going to Cape Friels. They have 3 sandy beaches in that community. So don't stop right in the community. Keep going and you'll find one called Cape Island Beach. Really secluded beach, beautiful white sand. As I said, hardly anyone there. You can spend the whole day there just flaked out.
Okay, so those are some great beach options. What if I want to learn about some of the history, or maybe take in some things that I think Newfoundlanders and Labradorians always think they know all about the history, but then there's always some new things to be able to find out and learn about.
That's right. So the Burin Peninsula, you and I have spent lots of time down there doing stories. Lots of us have gone down on different reports we have to do. But I haven't really dipped into each of the communities and spent a bit of time there. But I wanted to go down and learn more about the tidal wave of 1929 and also the disaster of the USS Truxtun and the USS Pollux. So I spent a bit of time in Burin. Beautiful place to go. Near Heritage Square there, they have a big wooden boardwalk that goes out into the ocean. You can walk that. You can also visit the Tidal Wave Memorial in Port-au-Bras, just over from Burin. That's spectacular as well. Then go down to St. Lawrence and learn about how the tidal wave impacted that community there. You can do a walking tour where you can learn all about that history, how the community was impacted. Also, as I said, the Truxtun and Pollux, you can hike out to Chambers Cove where that happened. There's a monument out there. You can learn all about the heroism of the local people. They saved 186 sailors those couple of days back in 1942 during World War II. So really, really dramatic and rich history in that area of the province. And that was one of the favorite things that I've done so far this summer. So those are my 3 top picks.
Well, Jane, I've got a few days of vacation myself coming up, so I appreciate the suggestions. I got a few more to add to my list now.
And hopefully our viewers will share their suggestions with us too.
Well, Jane didn't make it up to the Big Land this year, so didn't get a chance to mention any Labrador staycation ideas, but I do want to share one of my favorites. And during the summer, the trails at the Brook Ski Club, perfect for a hike, especially now as the blueberries start to come into season. But I want to know what your favorite staycation spots are. Send us your photos of your staycations. Where have you gone? Any hidden gems you'd want to recommend? We want to see your pictures, so send them by email hereandnow.nl@cbc.ca or send us a message on Twitter or at Facebook as well. Well, staycations aren't a new phenomenon, although, as we've been talking about tonight, they've certainly gotten a little more popular during the pandemic. In the 1950s and 60s, many communities in our province were resettled as governments relocated people to bigger centres. But many would return to their roots every summer, venturing back for a sort of vacation. We dipped into the Here and Now archives to bring you this national report from 1987.
This is Bragg's Island in Bonavista Bay. It used to be a small but thriving year-round community, complete with a post office, a school, a store, and a church. All that remains of the old church now are the steps. Most of the old houses were moved away or cut down to make small summer bungalows. Bragg's Island was one of the first communities in Newfoundland to be resettled. Now, in the spring and summer months, it's like any Newfoundland community. People are busy at the fishery. But there still aren't any cars or roads. There still isn't any running water or electricity. And the people that come here don't live here year-round. About 20 families come to Bragg's Island every summer to fish. Even if they didn't grow up here themselves, their parents and grandparents and great-grandparents did. Some still consider Bragg's Island home.
Okay, Christo, let's go up and see grandfather's house, okay? Up there, though. Used to be a great big house here. This here is where, that's grandfather's old stage, the original stage that he used to use. And over here, you see those leaves that's climbing up down the rocks? They used to use that one time as yeast for bread.
Alec Oram was moved from Bragg's Island when he was just 4 years old, but he still comes back every summer.
My roots are definitely here. I think it's in my blood, and I don't think it'll ever come out. I worked in Toronto for a while, worked in Sarnia, but it was something that was lacking. I can't explain what it was, but it seemed like something that you just had to come back to.
Alec Oram's mother, Mabel, is 73. She was moved from Bragg's Island 32 years ago. She and her husband and their 9 children were the last to leave.
I felt like everything I lived for was gone. That's how I felt. I didn't want to leave the island. This is where I was born to, and this is where I lived all my life, and I didn't want to leave. So, well, I felt very emotional. You know, sometimes I would cry.
Mabel Oram's house was moved, like hundreds of others, by barge across the bay to the main island of Newfoundland. She still lives in the house she moved to Hare Bay, but the way she sees it, that's just a place to spend the winter.
Unsettled feeling, like I'm unsettled. I'm not at a place where I should be. But when the springtime comes, I want to get back home, to my home here on Bragg's Island.
I've always felt very sad about the entire business of resettlement.
For Newfoundland painter and printmaker David Blackwood, resettlement has been a powerful and inspiring theme, a theme he's dealt with in his work. Blackwood remembers when his grandparents were moved from this spot on Bragg's Island.
My grandfather was very conservative and very, well, you know, we're better off here. And why would you want to tear everything to pieces? I guess he felt that there was a lifestyle there, that a system that was very, they felt very confident about what they were doing and contented.
You have to move. You have to resettle.
Move?
Yes.
Like furniture?
Or without it. It's dead, John.
Well, then so are we!
Resettlement also provided inspiration for Gordon Pinsent's film, John and the Missus.
You, sir, are telling me where to die.
It's becoming, I think, probably in the scheme of things, as far as Newfoundland is concerned, just simply an event, a thing that happened. Unfortunately, it happened to the kind of people who felt deeply about where they come from.
For many people, resettling to a larger community in Newfoundland turned out to be a good thing.
We didn't have anything there. Now we got everything here for convenience,
It meant access to roads, jobs, schools, and doctors. But Mabel Oram says she never did have much faith in doctors anyway. She'd gladly stay here in the winter if she could, but her sons won't let her. So she lives for the long days of summer when she can get back to Bragg's Island, and she says she always will. Catherine Wright, CBC News, Bragg's Island, Newfoundland.
The pandemic has shut down restaurants and other parts of the hospitality industry. It means food is being produced that's not being eaten. Here's David Thurton on a plan to get that food to the people who need it most.
Food banks like this one are on the front lines of fighting hunger during the pandemic. Now they have some help.
This is an incredible national program. To have $11.3 million worth of food purchased that is in surplus, donated to food banks across the country means we're going to get higher value, high protein foods into the hands of individuals who need it the most.
Canada's Agriculture Minister today announced details to divert millions of kilograms of surplus vegetables, fruit and meat that would have ended up in the dump and get it on the plates of those who need it. 8 partners, which include food banks, will help run the $50 million program, helping not only those in need but farmers too, who've had no choice but to dispose of perfectly good food that couldn't sell.
I think it's a win-win project. Obviously, the families and the people who will benefit from the food banks and the food that will come through this initiative, it will be extremely important. For the farmers and the processors.
The program, which covers production costs, was originally promised in May, but months later, farmers say it comes too little too late.
We had hoped that the announcement, the details would have came sooner, right after the announcement, because obviously the product that we have in storage, potatoes are a very perishable product. They don't last very long.
When you look at the money that was, or the program that was re-announced today, the food surplus program, we're talking about all commodities. When you put it over the entire gamut of commodities, $50 million is small potatoes.
Small potatoes when it comes to covering the losses for farmers, but not for the increasing number of Canadians turning to food banks to put meals on the table. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
The United States says it has brokered a peace deal between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. It sets up full diplomatic relations. It's the first agreement of its kind since Israel and Jordan signed a peace accord more than 25 years ago. President Donald Trump made the announcement from the Oval Office.
They will exchange embassies and ambassadors and begin cooperation across the board and on a broad range of areas, including tourism, education, healthcare, trade, and security.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the deal has ushered in a, quote, new era in Israel's relations with the Arab world, and that it will lead to a wonderful future for both the countries. Here's more of what he had to say this afternoon from Jerusalem.
Well, today we usher in a new era of peace between Israel and the Arab world. I just came from an historic virtual conference between myself, President Donald Trump, and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed of the United Arab Emirates. We announced the establishment of a full and formal peace between Israel and the UAE. It includes the mutual opening of embassies, direct flights, and many, many other bilateral agreements. This is the greatest advancements toward peace between Israel and the Arab world in the last 26 years, and it marks the third formal peace between Israel and an Arab nation. In 1979, Prime Minister Menachem Begin made peace with Egypt. In 1994, Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin signed a peace treaty with Jordan, and today I'm honored to announce a formal peace agreement with the United States, with the United Arab Emirates. I believe there's a good chance we will soon see more Arab countries joining this expanding circle of peace.
Lebanon's parliament met today for the first time since the massive explosion in Beirut 9 days ago. It approved a state of emergency, granting the military sweeping powers. That move has further escalated popular anger at Lebanon's ruling elite, already facing protests and accusations of corruption and mismanagement. Hundreds of thousands of people remain homeless and hungry in Beirut. Charities are handing out meals as work continues to clear rubble away around the port area and beyond. No port means critical shortages of food and supplies because Lebanon imports almost everything it needs. The FBI has now joined the investigation into the explosion, which many Lebanese blame on official corruption. Before we go to a break, an incredible video to share. There was a heart-stopping rescue captured on a police body camera. Take a look.
I'll be out with the mail sack on the tracks trying to get him out. Go on, can you get up? Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up.
An incredibly close call as police officer Erica Urea pulls a man to safety in Lodi, California. The man's wheelchair got stuck on the tracks before the safety barriers had come down. It's not known how long he'd been there before the freight train came. It was so close the man's leg hit the train as he was being pulled clear. The 66-year-old is recovering in hospital. The officer is being called a hero. Let's take a look at who's celebrating this week. Best wishes to Frank and Doreen Evans on their 65th anniversary. Happy 50th anniversary to Pat and Doreen Walsh from Mount Pearl. Happy 66th wedding anniversary to Harold and Myrtle Anderson from Gander. Happy anniversary to Rose and Dan Maloney of Harbor Grace, celebrating 59 years of marriage. It's a 56th wedding anniversary for Calvin and Sophie White of Western Bay. It's also a 56th anniversary for Fred and Joyce Wells of Burgeo. Happy 50th wedding anniversary to Thomas and Debbie Lushman of Grey River. Happy anniversary going out to Wilson and Nellie Lilly, who are celebrating their 61st wedding anniversary. Happy 60th anniversary to Albert and Ida Dober of Marystown. They were married today in 1960 in Lance Cove, Bell Island. Happy 60th wedding anniversary to Ken and Jean Hudson of Pooch Cove. Happy 54th anniversary to Linda and Wilson Janes. Happy 57th anniversary to Ronald and Victoria Decker. Happy 63rd wedding anniversary to Alrita and Joseph Dunphy of Gander. Brian and Patricia Oliver are celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. Happy 54th anniversary to Sid and Rosalie Stiles of Stephenville, who are celebrating tomorrow. Happy 55th wedding anniversary to Edith and Ted Palmer from New Chelsea, Trinity Bay. Happy 57th wedding anniversary to Joyce and Ray Humphreys of Lumsden. They're celebrating today. Happy 50th anniversary to Jim and Kay Mercer of Stephenville Crossing. Happy 65th wedding anniversary going out to Kirby and Susie Butler of Arnold's Cove. Happy 54th wedding anniversary coming out to Derek and Marie Roberts of St. John's. Happy 50th anniversary to Abner and Jane Wheaton of Fredericton, Newfoundland and Labrador. 50th anniversary greetings going out to Malvina and Cecil White of Bishop's Falls. Happy anniversary to Pat and Edie Druken of Paradise, who've been married for 51 years. Pearl and Dawn Burton are celebrating a 68th anniversary. George and Lizzie Blanche of Jersey Side are celebrating their 63rd anniversary. 50th anniversary greetings going out to Grace and Gerald Rose of Salmon Cove, who are going to be celebrating on Saturday. Happy anniversary to Shirley and Gus of Corner Brook on their 59th wedding anniversary. Happy 57th anniversary going out to Joseph and Alvina Leroy of Point O'Mal. Anniversary greetings to Onslow and Shirley Hillier of Grand Bank, celebrating 61 years together. Celebrating their 50th anniversary, it's Walter and Susie Tucker of St. Philip's. Wishing Jim and Cavill Anthony of Clark's Beach a wonderful 56th wedding anniversary. Happy 64th wedding anniversary going out to Zelda and Bill Dixon of CBS. Now taking a look at your birthdays, happy birthday to Edith Lawrence of Corner Brook, who's turning 92 today. Happy birthday to Alice Corbett, who's 93 years old. Happy birthday to Viola Crocker from Heart's Delight, who will be celebrating her 95th birthday. Happy 90th birthday to James Huckster from Springdale. Special birthday greetings going out to Elizabeth Williams of Lewisport, who is celebrating her 103rd birthday. Congratulations. Happy 93rd birthday to Olive Janes. Happy 99th birthday to Evelyn Hatcher, who will be celebrating on Sunday. She's from Rose Blanche, now living in Port aux Basques. And finally, Edward Wakeham from St. John's turns 91 tomorrow. Congratulations. We do have one other late-breaking anniversary to tell you about. Happy 51st anniversary to Jim and Phyllis Whalen of Clark's Beach, who are celebrating on Sunday. Ashley, for those of us who've all been working this week, how's that weekend forecast looking? It feels like it's been a waste of all this beautiful weather for those of us who've been stuck inside.
Yeah, that's fair. It has been. We are seeing a little bit of unsettled weather tonight and through the day tomorrow, but as far as the weekend goes, a big ridge of high pressure is going to dominate most of the province. It's going to keep temperatures comfortable for sure, but in the 20s for the majority of the province with plenty of sunshine. So certainly something to look forward to, and honestly, it looks like it's going to stick around at least through the first half of the week.
Thanks, Ashley. Before we go, some stunning footage that we just have to show you from California. You might think it's fake, but it's not. It's kind of a sort of stampede. Let's take a look. Wow. That's a pod of about 300 dolphins. I say about because I'm not sure anyone had the chance to count them all there. That's near Orange County. They're all leaping out of the water like this to allow them to move as fast as possible. Scientists have never been able to figure out exactly what prompts dolphins to stampede. What a sight, though, especially for those on this whale watching tour. So yeah, it's not just Newfoundland and Labrador that has some impressive whale sights. Even California can pull out the stops for a bunch of whale watchers. A great sight to see there. And before we go tonight, a little bit of a programming note to tell you about. Here and Now is going to be starting later tomorrow night. It's all because of hockey. So if all goes well, Here and Now should start at 7 o'clock Newfoundland time, 6:30 in most of Labrador. But if there's overtime, we'll get the show pushed back a little bit. And worst case scenario, we'll post a show for you on Facebook and YouTube so you can get your news fix. I'm Peter Cowan. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.